no offense to you or anything, but I was thinking more about our daughter.
Fair.
As you've mentioned, we both traveled to quote unquote dangerous places alone.
And maybe at the same time I was like, wow, he might get kidnapped. That might be the greatest thing of the whole vacation. As long as my daughter said, but if he could get kidnapped.
Chris Rock, when he was like, what was he saying? Like, you've never been in love if you don't look at your husband or your wife and you're like, die.
Exactly. If you didn't look at a box of rat poison for 5 solid minutes, you ain't been in love.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Foster Inclusion Podcast, and thank you so much for joining me. I am your host, Saida Gomez Fleury. In this episode, the hubby and I answer questions about our amazing trip to El Salvador while sipping on Cihuatan, a local rum. I hope I pronounced that right. We cover stuff like how El Zonte has influenced our views on Bitcoin, traveling with a 2-year-old, and so much more. Check out at Foster Inclusion on Instagram and Twitter to see photos and videos of our trip. And for those who still believe that you can't use Bitcoin to buy coffee, I filmed a brief video demonstrating that it is indeed possible. I paid about 3,000 sats for a bag of ground coffee. So what are you pouring?
So this is, I'm going to pour 2 glasses of Cihuatan. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Cihuatan. No, the accent's on the A at the end. So I think for my Spanish lessons, it's like Cihuatan.
So Cihuatan. I am pouring 2 glasses of Cihuatan, which is an aged rum that we purchased while we were traveling to Salvador. And it's originally from Salvador.
And El Salvador. Yeah,
El Salvador,
we're back. It's already been a week since our return, and we're trying our Cihuatan for the first time since coming back. So in this episode, we're going to do something a bit different because I think it's pretty cool to share our thoughts and impressions of our lovely trip. So you already know that I loved it. To El Salvador, and more specifically El Zonte. And so we've put a bunch of questions in a bowl, and we're going to pull each question and then just answer at random. And I think that's like a spontaneous way to share our thoughts and feelings. But before we get to that, you've poured our El Salvadorian rum. So
Indeed.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's test it. Very nice.
Oh. And it's not too strong. Usually, like when I have straight rum for the first time, I feel like my throat, my nasal passages, like everything is just like being cleansed, cleared, burnt out. But this is quite nice.
So it has notes of lychee, cinnamon, fresh guarapo, and toasted cashew nuts. That's what it says.
Fresh what? Grappa?
No, guarapo. I think we had that once when we were there. I can't remember, in some kind of smoothie or something.
Oh, God, I had so many smoothies. This is really nice.
It's very nice.
Ooh.
Very, very nice.
I can't wait to invite people over and have them taste it. Let's do a tasting.
Yeah, and make pupusas to go with that.
Well, there were 3 of them in the package we bought. There's this one and then 2 others. What's this one called in particular?
Obsidiana.
And
I think it's the most, how would I say, like natural one, meaning not flavored. I think the 2 other ones are flavored in a way or another. Can't remember. One was cinnamon and something else, but yeah. Just gotta be careful because it's still early afternoon. So
yeah, we just had lunch. We did eat. We're not drinking before like too early in the morning. Our daughter has just been put down for her nap. Mommy's starting to feel really good. So we're gonna try to get this done. Do you want to draw first?
Sure. Yep. All right. So I draw first. I ask the question. Oops, I draw. Oh no, it's one. It's a long one. I ask the question to you and let you answer. So, have your views on Bitcoin changed after your experience in El Salvador? If so, how?
Have my views on Bitcoin changed since going to El Salvador?
Yep.
Yes.
After your experience in El Salvador.
After going to El Salvador. So yes, my views have changed, surprisingly. So for anyone who's ever listened to this podcast, you know that I am obsessed with Bitcoin, and more specifically, its potential to, I guess, create more equal access to our financial system. I'm all for financial inclusion. So I have... I've always been obsessed with that angle of things, and going to El Salvador for me was like an opportunity to see on a smaller scale how a community could actually use, or a country could actually use Bitcoin for better financial inclusion. And I would say that my views on Bitcoin itself have changed in the sense that I really see Bitcoin more now as like a neutral tool. It is a tool. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It is a tool. But the tool, when operationalized, seems to bring about more equality, which is still an abstract term, but to see how people in El Zonte specifically are so happy and joyful, and not everyone speaks about Bitcoin, which I kind of expected based on everything I saw on social media and based on interviews I've seen with Nayib Bukele and other people involved with the Bitcoin Beach project. I expected it to be like everyone speaking about Bitcoin buzzing around, but actually people didn't speak about it that often. But I feel that its effects, whether it's increased tourism or whether like people, I guess, feel a little more financially secure, its effects can be felt. And so now I kind of see Bitcoin as like this invisible good, as opposed to like only like this incredible technology.
Okay.
And what about you?
Yeah, so for me, yes, it has changed it. Actually, it has changed my view a lot. Probably much more than it has for you. Sorry, our daughter is waking up, so I guess we might have to do a little break just to put her back to...
If you can hear in the background, she said, Papa!
So maybe we put it on pause and we just restart?
And we're back from that brief interruption. Our daughter just woke up from her nap. So how has your opinion about Bitcoin changed after our trip to El Salvador?
Yeah, so it has changed in, I guess, two main ways. The first one is like out of my very limited knowledge of Bitcoin, like my focus was more on the stored value, find a way to put the little money you have in a different system or a different type of investment than your usual ones. Here was like actually observing you buying a pack of coffee, like more the transactional aspect was very real. And it was the first time for me to see that. So I think that changed my perspective, where it has that aspect to it that, yeah, out of Switzerland, I never saw that. I never saw any kind of transaction except you and I quickly exchanging some Satoshis from your wallet to mine or stuff like that, but not actually transacting with like a shop.
Yeah,
so
in Geneva.
In Geneva, I'm talking about, yeah. And once again, my limited experience, I don't attend any Bitcoin meetup. I don't do none of that. So that's one thing that changed for me. And the other thing is more like, as you said, like as a tool. And so my view, I mean, and we'll probably speak about it later. I mean, Salvador was a really good trip. I really like the country and a lot of unexpected things for me. And Bitcoin is one of the tools, I think, which makes current Salvador like a very, I don't know if it's unique place, but it's unique in my view, meaning compared to what I know, very unique. And I think Bitcoin is one of the elements, in addition of all the other actions that the president is taking and that the people are taking themselves. So yeah, it's a great tool to bring something new, different. Not sure if it's going to work or not, to be honest, but for sure, if you don't try, you are pretty much sure it's not going to change. So it's something different, and it's very much associated with like optimism, change, opportunities, all of these things. So
totally.
And I actually like the fact that you bought a pack of coffee, you gave a tip to the driver using wallets and bitcoins at the same time.
And the lemonade too.
And the lemonade. But you
Salvador.
see shops that clearly say no bitcoin. So it's not like, as you said, it's not like a religion. Like, no, it's one option that is made available. You don't have to adopt it. And clearly some stores say it was written, one store actually, it's not some stores.
In El Zonte as
in
well.
El Zonte. It was one store, like the one along the beach where we had like a beer and a lemonade. And it was, guess who has the lemonade, who had the beer. But
Pilsener.
It was saying no Bitcoin. And I kind of like that aspect because it's not mandatory in any way. It's just another tool available. So yeah, that's how it changed my personal view.
And we had this discussion multiple times. Like, I wish I had known more about El Salvador since it introduced Bitcoin as legal tender, because without, for me personally, a reference point before, it's hard for me to see and to understand the depth of the change that's taking place.
Sure.
I just know that, like, generally speaking, the only mentions I'd had of El Salvador previously was like, it's dangerous, whatever. So I haven't lived that danger, but what I lived while I was there said, like, this is such a cool place and an optimistic place. And it's hard to know, like, which variables are contributing most towards, like, the sense of positivity and optimism that we experienced. Is it Nayib Bukele and his policies? Is it Bitcoin? Is it the weather? Is it more tourists? What combination of these things have contributed to, like, the great experience we had? Who knows?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, my turn. I'll get another. First, I will sip some more Cihuatan.
Yeah, I didn't stop.
This is really good. Okay, so I'm picking a question, and it is: could you see yourself spending long periods of time in El Salvador?
So yes, very clearly. And then my very pragmatic mindset or attitude would say, depends how long would you say, right? I mean, and there are several elements. I'm thinking about the whole. So I would like to spend like 2 months, for instance, like sounds really good to me. I'm like, that would be really nice to spend like 2 months there. And then obviously, like, I'm
real
thinking
life.
about the daycare, the job, all of that. But I think if I remove all of these elements, I mean, I really would like to. I do love personally living in Switzerland. So to me, it wouldn't be one or the other. Like having that as one of the places, there might be a couple of other ones, but
greedy.
Yeah, like I would absolutely, like that.
A few months in El Zonte, you know, most of the year in Switzerland, maybe 1-2 other places.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really liked it and I absolutely envisioned. I know, knowing myself, like El Zonte, where we were, I would like the city. I mean, I would like some activities that I have right now.
Yeah, of course.
So I would need to really engage into like surfing, for instance.
Yeah,
an activity that would absolutely keep me busy. Because if not, knowing myself and hyperactive and always wanting to do stuff, I'm not sure I'm designed for slower mode of life. Or it's not that I'm not designed; it's I'm used to it. So I'm sure I could adapt to it, and maybe I would love it at one point. But yeah, like 2 months, absolutely, I would absolutely see myself living there.
Yeah, same. I mean, long periods of time. Again, like at this stage in my life, I know that it's not feasible. But I mean, if I think back to, you know, the period of time when I was single or, you know, under other circumstances, I could totally trip out on just living there for like 6 months. And like for 6 months, I would like learn how to surf or something, you know, work remotely, take surfing lessons in the morning. One thing that I found so beautiful and inspiring was that lady we kept seeing every morning. So we stayed at the Garten Hotel, and we stayed in one of the villas. So in the mornings we would walk from the villa to the beach. We'd spend time on the beach, and then after the beach we would go to like the main hotel for breakfast. And every morning there was a lady like doing her surf lessons, and in the time we were there, I think I saw her progress and stay on the board longer.
Yes, for sure.
And I just thought it was so cool, like to be able to go and set a target like that for myself, to like not even learn how to surf, just learn how to stand on a board, you know?
Yeah, and it seemed to be a perfect place for that. I mean, she was, the conditions were right. It's not like huge waves that are going to crush you. It was like she was very persistent, good condition, and I agree. We saw the progression. And her coach seemed really like down to earth and cool, like pretty much everyone we saw there. So like under different conditions, I think if we were like newly married or something, or like if we didn't have a child and daycare and like our set routines, I think I could like see myself being there for like a few months out of the year. I mean, if they would have me, that's pretentious to say that I would just go, but like, you know. I could see that. All right.
Next question.
Cool. So next question. Is the El Salvador Happy Glow still with you 1 week later? Actually, we spoke about it about an hour ago, so that's interesting.
Well, now that I'm sipping on the Cihuatan, it's coming back. So the flight back was pretty long, and I didn't sleep that much on the plane. So that in itself sort of diminished and took away from the glow I was feeling. I still have a gorgeous tan, so it's there to some extent. But, you know, this week, like you were traveling for the first, Monday, Tuesday, and you came back Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I had to manage everything with our daughter, which is tiring. And it also rained here, which you know, it rained for a few days, which was like, and then like even at the Bitcoin meetup on Wednesday, I was happy to have gone, and I was pretty excited about like saying, oh my gosh, it was so cool, you know, like here are some of my observations. But maybe because the price is low right now and other things are happening, like it kind of felt like the optimism that I lived just like a few days prior is not here right now. So the glow is still here to some extent, but it's going away. And what about you? Do you still have your El Salvador glow?
I don't know if it's the El Salvador glow. I think it's more like it felt good to take a lot of sun at once. Mm-hmm. That was good. And I think I still have that, like the benefit of 10 solid days of solid sun exposures.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was happy to come back. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, when I come back, literally, when we came back the 2 days after, I was traveling for work.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was a pretty cool 3 days in an industry that is interesting. So I really got back quickly into the working mode and everything. But I think it did a lot. Where I kept the glow is like it did a lot of good in terms of how I'm feeling, being more patient, less anxious. So it helps me actually.
It made you more patient.
Yeah,
spending
it's
time
difficult to be
Zonte?
less, right? So it can only go as a progression. So.
Ooh, this is a revelation.
Yeah, no, but it's tiny. It's tiny. Yeah, but it's. And plus, as you know, I mean, there was a lot of things going on at work, which usually I get very stressed about. And I felt it was good. I surfed this week very well. And I think it's thanks to the glow that was remaining from the trip.
Yeah, totally. I still look at so many of our photos and stuff, and like the smile does come back. I still have a bit of the glow, but I guess I see my reality, so.
Yeah.
Next question, it's mine, right?
Yeah, it is your turn.
I'm forgetting already with
Yeah, that's called rum.
It's called the rum effect. Why do you think El Salvador has such a negative image?
So, very interesting. I thought a lot about that because So we did like some visits when we were there, and we learned, I mean, it's very little of the whole history, and actually it's all about the recent history, the last century of Salvador, and there are a lot of fairly tragic history associated to the country.
To San Salvador.
Yeah, exactly, and
La Plaza and
exactly.
Las Mujeres.
All of this story, like the churches, and anyway, like very quite tragic history. And then we had a great driver, I found Champa, really. I really liked him. Very cool, and we talked a lot during the trip, and he was explaining about the gangs and how the gangs were the situation like a few years back, because it's changing very rapidly. So to answer the question, why does El Salvador has this image? I think partly because of its past. But my reflection during the trip was, okay, the past seems to be different than the present. And when we prepared the trip, right, you go to all the Swiss consulate and Canadian consulate and French
don't
consulate.
travel.
And it's like, it's really like, don't go. And that doesn't only apply to El Salvador. There are a lot of other countries like that. So to me, it's either some of the Occidental countries just don't stay up to date, and they take the worst case scenario, look at what it was 5 years ago, and that's still what's showing up on the website. Or there is no intent to give a real picture, or I would say even a positive picture. And I think maybe it's the safe approach. You always look at the worst, and that's what you put. But I'm not sure they do that for all the countries. I mean, if I think about
Paris,
the
even,
US, Paris,
I was hit by some random person in Paris.
Correct. I mean, I have experience in Toronto of having a guy showing a gun to me, right? And that didn't make friends say, don't go there, it's super violent. So,
and I'm from Scarborough, where like my parents still live in Scarborough, and everyone's like, that's so dangerous. And I'm like, really?
Exactly. So, just to answer the question why, I'm not sure. I'm just sharing more of my reflections about that topic, because I know it's something I thought about during the vacation, because literally it was such an easy, and we were traveling with our 2-year-old daughter, right? So it's very different in terms of personally how I think about safety or security than without her, right? I mean, I traveled a lot for work in different places, and security was like, it's going to be fine. Here it's like, well, it has to be fine. Like it
how
really
do I take a bullet and shield my daughter?
How do we make sure it's all safe? And at the end, it was extremely safe from what we have experienced. Once again, I mean, it's the vacation we chose. So but I found it a very interesting thinking for me, or thought that I know I had it during the whole vacation.
It's why do I think El Salvador still has what was your question exactly? Why do you think El Salvador has such a negative image? Same, like so I was the one pushing for this destination for our Easter. Oh my God, the rum is kicking in. I sound like Jamaican French. Easter.
I'll have another one, by the way.
I will too. So I was the one pushing for this destination over the Easter holidays. And I had, I suppose, like a very myopic view, because my thing was about Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. And then I think maybe like a month or two after we sort of finalized the logistics, Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, declared a state of emergency. And then he, along with the El Salvadorian police, started posting photos of M13, I think is the name of the gang.
One of them,
gang members on Twitter, just saying like, we've arrested this number of gang members, here's the state of emergency. And so I was feeling really excited to actually go and see like El Zonte for myself. And then part of me was like, oh my God, like, have I put my like no offense to you or anything, but I was thinking more about our daughter.
Fair.
As you mentioned, we both traveled to quote unquote dangerous places alone.
And maybe at the same time I was like, wow, he might get kidnapped. That might be the greatest thing of the whole vacation. As long as my daughter is said, but if he could get kidnapped.
Chris Rock, when he was like, what was he saying? Like, you've never been in love if you don't look at your husband or your wife and you're like, die.
Exactly. If you didn't look at a box of rat poison for 5 solid minutes, you ain't been in love.
Maybe there was some of that, but I was like, have I, sort of strongly influenced the family into doing something that could actually like endanger, like, my heart, basically, our young daughter. And then after that, like as you mentioned on the Canadian, whatever website, it's like, it's a very dangerous location, Switzerland the same. And, and then I started thinking about this whole concept of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I thought the people, like one guy I interviewed, Rohan, who was there in November, I think. I messaged him and he said, yeah, it's great, it's safe, whatever. And so I thought, like, people who've been there recently don't seem to share the same opinion as people or as like big media outlets. There is a definite gulf or divide between people who've been there recently and what's being reported officially. And so, like, my fear went away pretty quickly. And when we got there and Noemi had a little like pink car seat and stuff like that, I was just like, I don't want to say once again because it sounds cynical, but I was just like, sometimes you have to see things for yourself and experience them for yourself and then have your own opinion as opposed to just going on sort of officially stated narratives. And it was, when I traveled to Ethiopia, it was kind of similar. Like, at the time, everyone was like, don't go there, it's dangerous, and you're going by yourself. I went with an organized group to hike in the Simeon Mountains, but those who were totally unaware of the Simeon Mountains, that they even exist, of like the just beauty of the country of Ethiopia, who had only relied on reports dating back several decades of like famine and all the negative things, were like, don't go there, you could get, I don't know, kidnapped, killed, like all of these bad things. And it's like a very similar experience. Up until that time, it was one of the best trips I'd ever taken in my life. And I remember like when I was flying back thinking, I'm not going to listen so much to sort of like the mainstream opinion or narrative on things, because it's not to say that I'll just go blindly do the opposite of what's stated, but for me it just demonstrates that sometimes when we actually experience things for ourselves, our experiences don't necessarily reflect what's being spewed out there in general.
Yeah, and coming back to one of the previous questions, that's one of the things that makes me I would like to spend more time there, like a good 2 or 3 months, to really have the reality. Because when we were driving to San Salvador, Chempa mentioned, like we were driving and he showed an area and he said, that's places you don't want to go.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
And it was the neighborhood. It wasn't
exactly.
Like...
It was not the city.
Yeah.
It was literally like one neighborhood in the city and said, no, there you don't want to go. So it's like the balance between a very like catastrophic picture and a very
localized,
idealistic one, which is, oh no, it's super safe, don't hesitate, like that's fine. No, there is always a reason, I find, why certain messages are being conveyed. But at the same time, you go there, it's different, and it's these are the kind of things that make me really, I would really like to spend more time there to have a finer view of what it is really.
Yeah, and as a tourist who's there, like we saw so many tourists who were there not related to Bitcoin whatsoever, but who were there. I think as a tourist, if you live close by and you're there for 4 days, we saw a few travel vloggers who were there. You go for 4 days, for a weekend, you stay in Zonte or other touristy areas, you're more or less fine.
Yeah, actually that's one thing that surprised me too, not about the Bitcoin aspect, but more like the people who were showing up, right? It was very, very different. So a lot of Americans, like from the US, but I didn't expect. And it was like every 2 or 3 days, different people.
Yeah, from Vancouver, the family.
From Vancouver, guys. I mean, originally from Hawaii. I mean, very, very different people coming and just have learned that it's a really cool opportunity. It's not too expensive. Weather is fantastic. The beaches are amazing. Because it's probably one of the highlights for me is like, I expected nice beaches, and I found probably one of the really most beautiful beach that I've ever seen. So that was interesting to see like the population that was passing by this hotel.
Tourists,
It was, I didn't expect that necessarily.
Oh my God, that morning when, so logistically, we couldn't like swim in the ocean or dive into the waves together because either Fred or myself, we were with Noemi and the other one would go in. But that morning when we just gave ourselves the time individually to go and like dive into the waves and stuff, I swear I could have like, if I had only done that during the entire vacations, I would have been so happy. The water is like what? 20, like 30 oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's 28, 30 degrees. It's super hot. Not the Lake of Geneva, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I like swimming in the lake.
I love it.
Yeah,
but it was really warm. Yeah, it's much colder. Okay, my turn to draw a question. Which friend or family member do you think would enjoy El Salvador the most and why?
So 2 for me, my dad and one of my cousins. I don't want to say his name just in case, but you know who you are. My dad, because if I am sort of curious and outgoing and wanting to speak to people, my dad is like exponentially more. He is like, he would, I think, have such a great time speaking to people, especially to locals, and asking questions historically, identifying similarities between El Salvador and El Zonte and Trinidad, like the mango trees. Actually, that makes me think of how happy I was to see that they sold tamarind balls, and that I could potentially buy tamarind balls on the Lightning Network.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but my dad and also the cousin I have in mind, he is super open-minded as well. Like, he is a networking beast, and not networking in the sort of like exploitative sense of the word, but really like very good at connecting with people, having conversations, knowing what's going on, who's doing what, like where the action is and stuff. When he came to visit me here in Geneva, he had met more people in one day than I had in like 2 years. So I think those 2 would like it the most.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I'm picking one family member and one good friend. I mean, the good friend would be Guillaume, right? So I traveled a lot with him, and we've always gone to so many, a lot of different places for vacation. That's one place, like we did Costa Rica, but it was for scuba diving, so we just landed and took off on the boat. But I think that's the type of vacation he would enjoy, except the waterfalls, because he hates waterfalls.
But we didn't see the waterfalls.
And we didn't see them ourselves. But for the rest, I think he would enjoy it very, very much. And if I think about a family member, it's probably like my cousin. I think there is a lot of cool stuff that he could really quickly... I mean, it's a cousin that is doing his own beer, he has his own brewery, and really managing his own business, and loves collaborations within his beer business. So I think there is a lot of very cool connections that could happen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that would be beneficial and very interesting and very passionate between whoever he meets when he's there.
Could you see your uncle in El Zonte?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, yes. Here I could. My parents, no way, like because it's too, But my cousin, I think he would have like he would enjoy. I think he would enjoy it. Yeah. Probably too hot for him, but beside that, because it's really hot, by the way. We had some really hot days.
But not as hot as Trinidad.
No, that's what you... It's funny because you say that, and I just went once, but for me, the memory that I have, El Salvador was hotter than Trinidad. But I trust, I mean, you know better, so.
For me, Trinidad was like, as soon as I stepped off the plane going to Trinidad, my whole body just went boop. I just bloated. Like
I don't have that memory.
It was, for me, it felt like a few degrees cooler than Trinidad. And mind you, it was like 36 every day. But to me, Trinidad is hot.
Okay. Well, to me, Dubai is hot.
Yeah, but that's a different kind of hot. Dubai is dry. It's
yeah,
like,
and it's 46 degrees.
Yeah,
like
but it's not humid hot, like different kinds of heat.
Anyway, not the point. All right.
Next question. So, what were you expecting before the trip? I think we kind of touched upon this a bit.
Yeah, I think we did. And I think we can skip it.
Okay.
Everything that I expected, I got, basically.
That's one thing though. I was expecting like everyone to be talking about Bitcoin, which wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And yeah. Okay. So next question. Okay, so we couldn't do everything on our list. I prepared a list before, list of activities before we left. Is there anything you wish you had done while we were there?
Yeah, the volcanoes and the lake.
Yeah.
But it was just very, I mean, logistically challenging because with a 2-year-old, it's like it was a long hike.
Yeah, and we didn't bring her hiking.
Exactly. We didn't have all the equipment and it was hot. I mean, honestly, even with the equipment, I would have needed to carry her for like 2 hours on my back going uphill.
And you say that because I wasn't
So that's the one thing I would have really liked because I saw some pictures. It looks very, very beautiful. So I would have liked to do that, but can't do everything.
Yeah.
When she's grown up, it's okay. Next trip.
Yeah. When she gets a bit bigger, hopefully we'll go back.
Yeah.
By the grace of God. And she can hike up herself. Same. I wish we had done a volcano tour. And I wasn't thinking about this before, but again, seeing that lady in her surf lessons, I wish I had booked a surf lesson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Me too. But once again, we say that, right? But we have a 2-year-old daughter.
I know.
And
reality.
There are a lot of things that, I wish I would have done. I mean, I would have loved to. I told you at one point, I would have loved to do a road trip in Salvador.
Yeah.
But kind of, 1 week of traveling from... You don't do that with a 2-year-old. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, especially, Yeah, totally.
So it's wish, but it's not regret.
Yeah.
It's all good. All right. Oh, this one is nicely folded. What was most memorable or what surprised you the most about the trip?
So I'm guessing I have to pick one thing. Can I say a number of things or most?
I guess you can, the way it's written.
Okay, so I was pleasantly surprised by how joyful everyone was. Mm. That, I wasn't expecting it, and in retrospect, it made things so much nicer. Like, even the other tourists who aren't from there were joyful. It's like something happens in El Zonte where people are just happy, or maybe the tourists who are there are happy. But even the locals seem pretty really just down to earth and foundationally happy. At one point I said to one of the drivers, I'm pretty sure that if I were to cross paths with some of these tourists, for example, in the airport or in a big city, they wouldn't even say hi to me, or perhaps I wouldn't even say hi to them. So the overall feeling of joy was a nice surprise. And the other thing that surprised me a lot was how cool Roman Martinez and the folks at Hope House were.
Yeah.
That was like non-profits or organizations like that in Geneva, I'm not sure would be so willing to, say to newcomers, hey, come with us on Saturday. We're going to do the little prayer service. We're going to pick up pieces of garbage on the beach. we're going to do like different activities and exercises and stuff. Feel free to participate in stuff. Like it just seems so incredibly inclusive and open, and there wasn't like the who are you, why are you here kind of attitude that for me, like especially living in a European context since 2008, was a nice refreshing surprise, because I think I'm more accustomed to that type of culture where it's like, yeah, come, bring your friends, bring your family kind of thing. And so that was a nice one of those intangible surprises that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. So for me, it's like there are a few. It's more what's memorable, like going to get like breakfast. That's like waking up at 5 a.m.
Naturally.
Because, well, not naturally, because the little one woke up at 5. And actually she woke up at 4. Having to wait, I think it was 6:30 to go get breakfast on the main road
yeah.
and getting pupusas, and having like the little one on my shoulders, going there, hugging, seeing all of that is memorable to me. Like it's clearly something that I will remember, and I hope she does too. And sorry, what was the name of the association?
Hope House.
Yeah, Hope House. That's the other piece to the morning, that it's something that I didn't expect. I think, what was surprising and memorable that morning is memorable and surprised me. And I know seeing like her playing in the river with all the other kids. That's, I feel it made me feel good, and I hope she takes it. It's like this kind of experiences is I think very important for her to experience, because like she's gonna be very Swiss. So I'm very happy that she's exposed to this kind of like experiences. That's what and then the couple that we met is another thing that surprised me. I didn't expect.
Sats Minded on Twitter.
Okay. And that's, I was very, it surprised me to meet them, and it was a very good surprise, and I absolutely didn't expect to meet people that, would be spending quite a bit of time there, and these kind of people. So, and the guy was really cool. So that was nice.
They were both totally cool. Yeah. And like they invited us over and stuff, and our kids played together in the water. Like it's, and again, like here's where I tried to like say, maybe it's not only El Salvador or El Zonte, it's the whole experience of like expats or immigrants or people who migrate to different places.
Yes.
The fact that you're not in your home country, on your home turf, does that make you more open to other people, like more willing to get out there and socialize and take a chance and not stick to your own group?
Yeah. So that's what was memorable, or is memorable for me. So
that was good. So Hope House registered on both of our memories.
Yeah, clearly that morning was really, really nice.
And the tug of war too. The unexpected tug of war.
That was like a big thing. I mean, and to me, what surprised me is, so I'm not a big church guy at all. To the contrary, but the community aspect was really nice, and the way they had it set up, it was just about, okay, let's go do. Because at one point it was like, it's about surfing lesson. And I was like, no, this is not. But actually it was. Like there was it was true that there was, but it was embedded into a lot of other activities for everybody that, made it very nice experience.
Yeah, he did an interview on the Kaiser Report like a few months ago. Well, now the Kaiser Report is no longer airing. But he mentioned that there are 4 pillars with Hope House. I don't want to say them because I don't have them memorized or anything. But spirituality is part of like the foundational work that they're doing with the kids in order to like build like well-rounded and sort of grounded citizens. And I mean, the kids seem so happy, and it seems to be working. So
todas las cosas.
Pardon?
Todas las cosas.
Todas las cosas. What was the
I can't remember the
Romans 3:18 or something. The pastor was passionate, and so were the kids.
Yes, clearly. All right.
My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
So, next question. Which is...
Yeah.
I feel warm and fuzzy. Did you feel scared for your personal safety at any point during our trip?
No. Well, I said no, but not my personal. No. Family, yeah, but it's more like every big city. When we went to El Salvador... San Salvador, sorry. So the question is, was I feeling...
Did you feel scared for your personal safety at any point during our trip?
Yeah, so I never felt scared. And in San Salvador, I was more cautious because it's a big city, because the little one was with me.
Yeah.
That's it. But short answer is no.
Yeah. Same. And for me,
No, that's not true.
Same in the sense that... let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Por favor. I didn't feel scared for my personal safety. However, because I had looked at images, por favor, senor, I'm just getting a little top up, of some of the gang members who had been arrested. And I saw that I think pretty much all of them had a lot of tattoos on.
Yes.
I think that developed a bit of a bias in my mind. And so when I would see someone with a tattoo, I think I just had a moment of like, oh, like what do the tattoos mean? And I don't want to stare, obviously, to examine them. But I think that that's more related to me just seeing a lot of images of people being arrested and those people having a lot of tattoos. Like I developed my own little bias, but I think that was about it. Am I forgetting something? You're smiling.
No, I am. It's because I know like when we had to walk from the restaurant back to the hotel and it was dark, he was like, oh, you have to be cautious. No, it's going to be dark. And
yeah, but that's more for like snakes and stuff.
Exactly, but you were scared.
I wasn't scared. I put my flashlight on. That was like just, Okay, so I have to say that since becoming a mother, I don't know if other moms experience this, but I have moments where my imagination just takes over. For example, when our daughter was a bit smaller, we were on the balcony, and for some reason, there was a crow that kept flying by, and for some reason, I sort of like envisioned this scenario where the crow would come and swoop down and like peck my daughter and like fly away. And so all of a sudden my obsession became protecting her from the crow.
Crows are the enemy from now.
No. Jon Snow was a crow.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was a good guy.
No, but so I wouldn't say that I felt scared for my personal safety. I think that was the question.
That was a joke.
Yeah, personal safety. It was just more like my motherhood paranoid imagination that thought maybe there could be a snake because you were carrying her on your shoulders. So in my brain, it's like if a snake came out and like bit Fred on the ankle and he falls, he's pretty tall. How will Noemi fall? Will she hit her head? Do I need to be cautious? If he trips on like a stick or something, like that's the type of paranoia that I had.
And you guys can hear that my safety in all of these instances was never an issue at any time. All right, next question. What did you enjoy the least about the trip? Oh, I know. The air conditioning when we arrived. Just too much air conditioning but we managed that very well after.
Yeah.
But it's
we're not used to air conditioning
at all, and it was just like.
But it's like it's a necessary evil. Like you need it,
Correct. But it's just like not a fridge.
Yeah, same. Not used to the AC. Next question.
No, maybe another one for me. Sorry, I asked the question, but you have. For me, I wouldn't say. So I'm cautious about what I say. Especially, I don't want to come across as arrogant, but the food...
But you're French.
Yeah, that's the point. That is the whole point. I'm trying to not go too far.
I'm sorry, French people, if I'm offending you.
the food, it's not like I enjoyed it the least, but I can see, and I had a conversation with...
Sax-minded.
Exactly, about that topic, and... It's true that I can see that I expected more grilled fish that was just coming out of the sea. And anyway, food was okay, but
yeah, you had to order that and go to different places.
yeah.
Actually, in terms of what, like one of the other questions, I wish I had ordered more beef. I was really on a fish, like I'm here, fish is like abundant, so let me eat fish kind of attitude, fish and fruit.
Yeah.
Oh, in terms of memorable, maybe not so memorable, but it's coming back. All
mangoes.
those mangoes. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
And the picking, can we get one and getting like 20 of them?
And I was like, I mean, it's impossible to eat all of these mangoes by myself. I think I was eating like 2 or 3 a day by myself. But I wish that there was a way to like bring them back, because like one of those mangoes alone is like 4 or 5 francs here. So like $4 or $5 here in the grocery store. We had about 20 of them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like so much money right here. And they're actually ripe. They're local. They were picked when they were ripe. They weren't picked prematurely and then shipped, for God knows how many kilometers, like the mangoes.
Yep, no, clearly. All right.
Next question.
I think it's your turn.
I think I did 2 in a row, but that's okay.
No, I did. What did you enjoy the least?
Oh, yeah, true. Has the trip influenced the way you view money? If yes, how? If no, why not?
I would say yes. And I come back to what I mentioned at the very beginning. I see much more now like Bitcoin as a mean of exchange rather than just a store of value. And I think that changes a little bit how I look at money as a whole. Because I think it's the only alternative that I know of to like all the existing systems and the crazy level of inflation that is going on, which I've spoken the whole week about when I was at the trade show, right? Everything is going up everywhere. And the fact that it's actually possible to exchange, and I've seen it. I've seen you buying a pack of coffee. Like I think that has changed a little bit my view of money as a whole.
For me, so I think on the Federal Reserve website, and I cite the Federal Reserve because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, the definition of money is unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value. And like you said, like I actually bought coffee with Bitcoin. A driver accepted a tip in Bitcoin over the Lightning Network, so it was a speedy transaction. We went to that other place and we we bought like our lemonades and whatever. So clearly like it's a unit of a medium of exchange. So for me it didn't really like change my view or my understanding of money, because like I've always seen Bitcoin to fit those 3 criteria. But what I did see is a willingness for people to accept it. So if you want it to be a medium of exchange, you need at least, exactly. And so there is like proof that another party is willing to accept it as money. If anyone wants to send me a tip, a lightning tip, go to my website. I've got Tipping Me. I will gladly accept it. But so for me, it didn't really change much. It's just to see like the willingness of certain people. As you said, some people don't want to accept Bitcoin. Like when we arrived at the airport, I'm like, oh, can I pay for the Visa in Bitcoin? It's like $12, And the woman's like, we accept Visa, cash, whatever. Can I pay in Bitcoin? We accept Visa, cash. Okay, I understood. But it's like,
that's true.
Some people choose to accept it, some people don't. And it's like, if I were to, I think I may still have some Ethiopian birr from my trip. If I were to, it is an official currency, but if I were to go to Cup here or Migros to buy something and I offer it, they may not accept it. So.
Oh, they will not.
I say may not to be more diplomatic.
I can tell you.
But yeah, so it didn't really change my view of money. It just allowed me to practice transacting with it.
Yeah. All right, next. What would you have done differently during this trip?
I would have packed lighter. because some of the dresses that I brought, I didn't realize how thick the material was until we stepped outside in the sun. What else would I have done differently? Packed lighter. I don't know, because it's the first time, and we were traveling with Noemi. I think we packed enough stuff. So clearly I'm on the packing and the logistics end of things. And for me, like, all of our basic needs were covered. And so besides like packing lighter, I'm not sure that there are other things I would have done differently. What about you?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No, it's 10 days. I mean, you discover, so
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't have done anything differently.
Yeah. Same. Next question. Any travel tips for parents with young children?
Get a yo-yo.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, like that just, I mean, it was 3 flights, right? And it's just during the flight, because as soon as we were in Salvador, that was it. It was packed. We didn't touch the yo-yo. But during the flight, it was absolutely brilliant to have this stroller with us.
Yeah.
So it's actually not an advice to parents, because I don't feel too good about giving any kind of advice to other parents, knowing that I'm a father for 2 years. That seems a little arrogant, but it's almost like a reflection on me. It's just to, especially around sleeping, like to accept the rhythm of your 2-year-old daughter, like not try to fight it, which is what I would do in this. I mean, you remember the first night, I was like, oh yeah, if she goes to bed at that time, maybe she's going to be a full night. Yeah,
you're trying to engineer everything, and it's like, no.
That's not going to work. I mean, if she wakes up at 3, bring her to the bed. If she, like, adapt to her rhythm so that the whole rhythm is easier. Which means we were up at 3:30 or 4. We saw like an amazing, that's another memory.
Yeah.
Like the how do you say, the dawn? Like the morning.
Yeah, the dawn. And all the birds, like, how
exactly,
it just
like
lights up.
The sounds and the light, like super. That was a brilliant, very nice memory.
Yeah.
And I know I have this one because she decided to wake up at 4 a.m. one morning.
Yeah.
So that is worth it even to adapt to that rhythm. So no advice, just more reflection.
Yeah, I agree with your reflection. Like, I feel the same about adapting to her rhythm because we have traveled so much without children. We have our own little techniques to adjust to, like, the time difference. I think the difference between El Zonte and Geneva is about 8 hours.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Yeah, because Toronto's 6 Eastern Standard Time. So 8 or 9. So we have our own, like, ways of doing it. And so for her, like, trying to impose what we do to adapt on her is not very realistic. There were times when she had to sleep, like, during the day, she slept sometimes for like 2 or 3 hours during her nap.
Yeah.
And and so, like, when I didn't have a child, when I wasn't a mother, that's time I would have used to go out and explore, or maybe, I don't know, do something different. But just accepting that she needs that time to recuperate and, like, to adapt to that time in the villa where we're there. I think we did a good job. We played yams as usual.
Yeah, exactly. Playing yams, having a nap, whatever. And the other thing is around the food for her, because I think advice to other parents, but actually we received the advice is like she didn't eat for like 2 or 3 days, barely.
Yes, that's Minded's wife.
Yeah, she was saying, it lasted 2 weeks with ours. Like, it's just like the change is too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think structure and rhythm is so important for our little one's security and safety, that it's one of things, like, everything becomes, no, I don't want it, no, I don't want it, no, I don't want it. And that's okay. I mean, she's not going to starve. She's not, and I think we did okay, because at the end she was eating really very correctly. So.
Yeah, and she went through a few days, I think it was like a day or two, where she was like, oh, je veux rien, like, I miss my friends from daycare. And my heart actually, like, sunk a little bit, because I was like, wow, like, she's only 2.5 and she's homesick. Like, she misses her routine and her friends and her teachers at daycare and stuff. And, like, I felt a bit sad for her, but she rebounded right after that.
Yeah. Who was the last question? Was it me or you?
It was the Cihuatan.
Okay, I'm confused now. I'll take it. And after the recording, we'll see the effect of the rum or not.
It's okay if
What did you enjoy the most? Pilsner, coffee, or pupusas?
Pilsner coffee. So I didn't try the Pilsner.
Which is Pilsener.
Pilsener.
That's how they
Can
were
you say it again slowly?
Pilsener.
Pilsener.
Yeah,
See, I never ordered it.
Me neither.
Pilsener. I'm not a beer drinker at all. The coffee was really good. And because I bought coffee with Satoshis over the Lightning Network, I'm going to say I enjoyed the coffee the most.
Okay.
And what about you?
I'll make two picks. The pupusas for the experience that I mentioned before, just going there, seeing it, and the Pilsener because I love these beers that are super light. It's like the Tiger beer and all these beers, like super light. They serve it so well because it's like freezing cold. So Pilsener and pupusas.
Next question. Hey, P&P. You like P, don't you? Pilsner and pupusas.
Keep on going.
How would you rate the beach in El Zonte?
Yeah, so I mentioned it. So it's top ranking. I wouldn't say the best one because I think there are, I can think of like 2 or 3 other ones. But it's really, really, really nice. I mean, they're just like black sand.
So fine.
Yeah, super soft. So it is for sure one of the top 3 that I've seen. Not that exists, right? But that I've seen. Yeah, I can think about in the French Polynesia.
Yeah,
that was nice.
It was nice.
And actually that's the one that I can think of. Beside that, not really. So fantastic beach.
Yeah, same. Black sand beach. The sand is so fine. Usually on beaches, I always step carefully because there's always something like a rock or something sharp. And here it was just it's like butter everywhere.
It was really, really smooth. All right. What is something new you learned while there?
New I learned, I guess, an understanding more about Bitcoin, that it's really a very powerful and important tool. Like for me, the aspect of Bitcoin being a tool was really like reinforced, and my eyes were open to that.
Okay. For me, it's about the president.
Oh yeah, because you hadn't been following.
No,
yeah.
I was not, and I was now I'm following him more, and I'm reading. But that's one thing I was like, wow, like it's pretty astonishing, like to have one president like so young, and it's from what I've observed, making such an impact in such a short period of time. It's I learned about that, just his existence and what he was doing, and I found it very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, I would say, like, of all the people from El Salvador that we interacted with, I would say all of them have said that things are much better day to day since he's taken office.
Yeah.
And it's not, like, again, I'm usually wary about making any statements that could be perceived as political. It's not at all the goal. It's just like, relaying feedback from people.
Mind you, we didn't meet any family members who were in place before.
Oh, the big
I'm sure they
families.
might have like a different perspective. But we didn't meet any of them. So
we didn't meet any former family members. But it was when we were driving to and from San Salvador, and Champa pointed out where the presidential palace was.
Yeah.
And seeing the big military, the tank with the long gun.
The Hummer. It was like a big Hummer.
With the huge gun, I was like, oh dear, like.
But to me, I was like, no, that makes sense. I mean, the guy must be like on the permanent threat from the legacy power.
Yeah.
Like, so I wasn't surprised. Your turn.
Okay, so what is it like traveling with a toddler? I think we've spoken about that, right?
We have, but honestly, just really easy compared to what I've heard or expected. Or I'm saying the traveling piece. Like she was really good on the plane.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a very, and it is part for me of the whole experience, right?
Yeah.
after 2 years of not doing long trips,
because of lockdowns.
it was really nice to actually go through airports, like spend for me 8-9 hours on a plane. And it could have been hell, according to what I hear sometimes about traveling with a 2-year-old.
On the flights,
but she didn't cry on the plane.
No,
at all. Not once.
Didn't. And we didn't have any screens or videos for her or anything. It was just.
Well, she has fantastic parents. Maybe that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the French side of me coming back.
Yeah, and also, like, our daughter is a star. She's so charming with people. I think she gets that from you, actually. She's so charming with people. She knows when to smile, when to, like, sort of play it up a bit. And so I would say that it sort of enhanced logistics in some senses. Like, the hotel in Miami, our Jorge remembered her.
Oh, yeah, that was nice,
you know,
too.
when we returned.
That was nice.
And he actually said her name,
after 10 days, and that was very nice.
It was very sweet.
Actually, what surprised me of the trip, that's one thing that surprised me a lot. Like, he would remember the first name of a 2-year-old that he saw 10 days ago
for one
walking in a hotel where he probably served 200 people a day. Like, it was like, wow.
Yeah, totally. And in El Salvador, what were they calling her? Preciosa?
Preciosa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally sweet. No, it was... good traveling with Noemi.
Yeah. My turn?
Yeah.
How much did you know about El Salvador before the country made Bitcoin legal tender?
Before Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador, I knew very little. I just knew. I can't even say I knew anything. I had no knowledge. I just heard that it was violent. It experienced a lot of violence in recent history, and that there was a gang called M13 that may have formed in the US. So I was very ignorant.
So I was, and I am still, and so I like, as you know, like maps and all of that. So I really started to look for books, and it's one of the challenges. I didn't find. It doesn't seem to be easy for living in Switzerland to find books, even online on my Kindle or anything, about the whole history of El Salvador, because you find books on the Civil War, which is 10 years of the history of the whole country, right? So I knew very little. I still find that I know very little, and I'm having a hard time finding good readings. Maybe if I was to speak Spanish, it would be easier. I would find more historic books.
Yeah, language is probably a very important variable in this, because if you're looking in French and English, most French speakers here, when I say El Salvador, they're like, where is that? What is that? The exposure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my colleague, he was actually saying I had to look on my Google map because I didn't really know where it was.
Really?
I mean, he knows it's south of the US, but beside that, yeah. It was not, and even me, I mean, I'm still struggling with the neighboring countries. I mean, now it's getting better, but it's not embedded in my brain the map of, Central America.
Yeah, it's, I mentioned this to you earlier. I mean, I'm fortunate in the sense that I was born in a place at a certain time where, most first-generation Canadians have or had parents who came from other regions. So not through formal education, but just by virtue of the people who were in different neighborhoods and doing different things, I had a geographic awareness that I think maybe many Westerners don't necessarily have.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you go through the historic history channels, what do you learn about? The Second World War, predominantly, I would say. Mm-hmm. The history of Canada, which is very specific to Canada, the US, Europe, obviously. So, in terms of geography and history, everything is very much Eurocentric or Anglo-centric. Canada a bit different because we're, officially French and English. And so, by virtue of, immigration and seeing kids, whose parents and who identify as being from somewhere else, I had greater awareness. And of course, because my parents immigrated from Trinidad and Tobago, I think I had a greater sense of the world isn't just these countries that we hear about and see about all the time.
Your turn.
Next question.
Oh, we're getting... Wow, there are only 2 left.
Oh, you sound disappointed.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. Do you think Bitcoin as legal tender could work in a country like France after getting a glimpse of how it works in El Salvador?
Yes.
No hesitation.
No,
Ding
because... no, because, I mean, to me, it's more... Okay, so one thing that changed to me with the trip is I think my mind was set on it's one or the other a little bit. And now it's like, no, you can have both. And like, you can absolutely have both running in parallel. And at the end, it's like on a daily basis, each individual can make her or his decision on which one to use.
Yeah.
And therefore, I mean, can it be, I'm sure like there will be plenty of resistance, not by the individual French people necessarily, more by the government. I mean, there is a lot of little interest to adopt it, but the French people that I know, they're going to be either supportive or don't care. Like the vast majority. So,
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, like it's like whatever. Like it's available, I don't use it, that's it. Or I'm interested. So I see it as very, very possible, absolutely possible now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought, like, so I submitted that question, and I thought of you and like what your perspective is on that, because I mean, even though I've been around French culture for over 20 years now, I honestly have no clue whether something like that could work. So from a sort of a theoretical perspective, or from like a purely frameworks perspective, of course it could be introduced, like anything could be introduced. But whether, you know, on like a very pragmatic, like in the field, from that perspective, whether people would use it or adopt it, I have no idea. Like, I get...
Yeah, I see, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get the impression that the few French people I know, which is not whatsoever representative of the entire population, are more interested in making investments and earning more value, whether that's through like fiat, whether that's through like investing in your business or investing in shares, like increase in nominal value, or home, or Bitcoin or other crypto. Like, yeah, French speakers that I know are very much into altcoins, which I find surprising, but for me, like from the little I know, it seems more speculative as opposed to anything bigger and deeper, like what it means to have a fixed supply, what it means to have a fixed inflation schedule that Bitcoin has, what it means to no longer be able to print money. I'm not sure that aspect like would resonate with the French people I know.
So I agree, and I agree very much with that. I think I took the question more, is it possible to implement it as a legal tender? And the answer is, I think now I reflect, I'm like, I understand my own answer is, yes, you can. Will people adopt it? Yeah. That's another story. And I reflect on me, like I am a slow learner in the sense that I don't think I'm necessarily slow to learn, is I have a lot of resistance to a lot of things because I'm good with with what I have, so I'm not like
for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not keen and I'm not seeking the new stuff because the old stuff is good with me.
Yeah.
And I think the whole French country is privileged so that it's a little bit of that. But at the same time, I think if you introduce it, it might be slower.
Yeah.
Clearly. But I think France is like sufficiently adept of something different in general that it can work in the long run. But I think it would be a much slower transition than Salvador. Like Salvador is like, yeah, it's okay, it's available. A lot of people still don't care. We have even seen people that says, no, I don't want it.
Yeah.
But there is like a greater percentage, or it seems proportion of people that say, yeah, I see it could be an opportunity, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like let's try it type of guy. It's like more conservative.
Yeah.
And I think the country, France, because of its privilege, is more on that approach.
And I think you've repeated, or you've said the key word at least twice. That word privilege means a great deal. You know, like in, although I say that and as I speak, I'm kind of thinking a bit I have two thoughts. One is that in El Salvador, they didn't have their own currency that the state controlled.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
They have the US dollar
Yes.
for historic reasons. And so to introduce and say this will also be legal tender, you have the US dollar and also Bitcoin, is a little different than making that introduction in a state that has greater sovereignty, that controls its own currency. So I'm saying that thinking of France, because I guess in my brain I still have the French franc mindset still in there. But in France, Greece, any EU country, you're using the euro. You don't have your own currency. Like it's the ECB that's in control of the currency used by multiple countries. So perhaps the analogy or the comparison is not that far off to regular people. I'm not speaking about people who profit from the system, people who are privileged within the system, but to regular people.
It's very, 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 very valid. I mean, what you just said, I find for France, in light of recent election and the discussions and the debates that happened, a lot of the debates was around sovereignty. Do we want to be within Europe? Do we want? I don't think there would be a Frexit. I don't think we are.
A Frogzit.
A Frogzit. We are not at that stage, but there is like a strong debate around were we better off as a country rather than where we are today within European Union. And I think the people doesn't necessarily people of France don't really realize that the money aspect is like a very central aspect into all of that, right? We used to have the French franc. We have the European Union. And I think for all these people that want more sovereignty, it might actually, it's interesting. Like if I think about even like Marine Le Pen, Mélenchon, both want more sovereignty. Like they never spoke about that. That I've heard.
Like Bitcoin?
Exactly. Like Bitcoin as a tool, which we go back to the beginning of our discussion, like it is a tool that can help you with the sovereignty aspirations that you have, which demonstrate like a little bit how slow learner we are in France. Like we think more about institutions, law, regulations. How can we get back? Exactement. Like let's make again Paris center of the world, like it used to be on top of the mountain. But very interesting. Like so, I think I am sure it can be adopted by France, and I feel there is like a possibility that it is like really embraced by some of the French population over time because we are slow learners.
Because so when I first went to France, I had like a very specific image in mind, which I've shared with you multiple times. And again, it relates to the selected media that I was exposed to at the time. So I expected everyone to be like Jean-Paul Gaultier and La Parisienne, what's her name? Inès
de la Fressange.
De la Fressange, like very tall, very elegant, like very slim, very chic, very whatever. Like that, those were the images that I was exposed to. And so when I arrived, I was shocked to learn that there was like an active communist party. I was shocked to see that there were people who openly spoke about anarchy.
Which is bigger almost after the last election than the Socialist Party. The communist one.
The communist is so like, you know, like like I experienced initially a certain level of cognitive dissonance because I'm like, this is not what I was taught. This is not what's like sort of like perpetuated in Canadian or Torontonian media about French food, French cuisine, French sophistication, French whatever, you know, like this is some real shit. Like people are like setting things on fire and stuff. And so like considering that like if this were a business and you were looking at your customer segmentations, considering that sort of customer segment exists, I'm guessing that like if there was to be a formal approach to introduce Bitcoin, it would probably be adapted by like a certain sort of not a significant percentage of the population, but like a non-negligible percentage
Correct.
of the
It
population.
wouldn't be insignificant, I think.
Yeah. To be continued, to be explored.
Indeed.
Maybe one day we'll do a little thing of a podcast on our thoughts of like France and Bitcoin.
Maybe one day you'll have Jean-Luc Mélenchon on your podcast. You never know.
Maybe one day I'll do a podcast en français.
You never know.
You never know. Well, no more questions?
Yes.
Oh,
one
there's
last
one more.
one.
Monsieur.
It's going to be interesting to see how we respected the order.
Oh, it's okay.
What did you like? Oh, that's a good one to finish. What did you like the most about the trip?
Everything. Like beyond everything else, I'm very I am very family focused. And so, I might cry. I think it's the Cihuatan. Actually, there are tears coming. Oh, wow.
I can take over.
No, it's okay.
It's going to be in
okay.
the same vein.
Suck it up, get through. What I liked the most about the trip was the fact that it was a trip with my family, and that we coordinated in a way where we could all enjoy where we were. We made the most of our sort of the sort of restrictions that we were working with in terms of logistics and Noemi napping, and to see, our daughter playing with kids that she just met who have a different culture, who speak a different language, to see her playing and getting along with them, for me is like just amazing, because it reminds me that at the end of the day, going back to the Hoffman process, like our inner children are still present, and it's really, things don't have to be so complicated if we set our egos to the side and make the effort to just participate and be present.
Yeah. So it's exactly this. I mean, it's in the exact same spirit for me. And I just say like one image is like just sleeping, the three of us, taking the little one in the big bed.
Yeah.
It's like hot. I mean, that's what I like of that trip. And it's just an illustration of what you do. It's not an illustration. It's just a very concrete example. It's like, we were good. We enjoyed ourselves. The little one was like really good. And that made me feel very happy overall. So I think what I enjoyed the most about this trip is like, it's our first trip far away.
Yeah.
And I find we made the most out of it. And I thank you very much for raising the idea of Salvador, because it was a brilliant idea. So, so that was good.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out at Foster Inclusion on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or complaints, email me at saida@fosterinclusion.com. That's SAIDAH@FOSTERINCLUSION.com. Bye!